Hello everybody. That's yet another Malirant from me. What I wanted to talk about is actually what makes a good model. So if you can see, I prepared a little assortment of different models, and I consider them all at least some degree of good or even great. And yeah, so what's the deal with the good models? And I often encounter the different opinions about it, and some people always say that this model is awesome and this model is crap, and it is not often obvious exactly why this model is bad or good. And I see people opinions clash a lot around this subject. So what's the deal with the good models? And I consider that you do need to have a clear, or at least partially clear, grade, and for that. And by that I mean, of course, just the milestones that you judge the model by. And I think the most obvious is just its stats, right? So stats and the cost, and in some degree abilities and actions, of course. But that's not the things you can judge a model by itself. So you need context, right? So you need something to compare this model with, and you need a situation you can judge the model inside that situation, right? So we can bring another matter in the equation, and this is just relative usefulness of the model. So like mobility, for example, or survivability, and those are a lot easier to judge, because you can use them to determine if you can or cannot do something with the model. For example, if you have a model with great mobility and great survivability, it is often really suitable for a skim run, right? And it can be present in dangerous spots and do something useful, for example. So, and those are just two things you can judge model by, right? And the next things are a bit more vague. So that's something like a value of the model and an impact that model brings to the table. And what's the value of the model, right? You have already have some degree of mobility or survivability, and the value of those is if you can use them, or if you can use those subjects, or I don't know what to say about that, of different models. So and you do that by making actions, of course, and that brings us to the value of the actions of the models, and those can be judged by different things, like number of actions, like number of actions the model can perform in a turn, or maybe even ways to increase the count of those actions, or maybe some obscure ways to multiply action count, like well, the great example is just the riders, right? They have two general actions and a bonus action, and this bonus action can be either very valuable action in itself, like the ultimate, or you can multiply actions by the ride with me and take some model with you, and it's like you take two actions at once, and this is very valuable in itself. And of course the value of actions itself is an a meta that is very, very valuable in a faction with some sort of a base, right? If you have a really, really good model with a really, really good action, like the Lone Marshal, for example, you can use it over and over in a turn by using a base from lowers on or some sort of different like jury and so on. So if you can use this action over and over again, and it is very, very useful, this is very valuable in itself. And that's okay, that's all right by itself. So what I meant by impact. Impact is something not really the same as the value of the model. It is very, very near the meaning, but not really the same. So what's the impact? Impact, this is like condensated value, right? Basically, it is a combination of abilities and actions that makes an opponent's life harder and your life easier. So how can we measure impact? That's a really good question. So impact can be made clear by defining some another milestones. So is it easy to ignore or maybe remove? So that's tied exactly with mobility, survivability, to a lesser extent with stats and so on. That's pretty easy to understand. And another matter, does it require your actions or resources? That's this part is a tricky one. So let's have a great example of that. Like, let's take Anne. That's, I think, a perfect example of the model with a great value and a great impact. So she has a ton of passive effects. So she has two very, very useful auras, hostile work environment, right? So let's see. And here she is. And the gravity well, and they work all the time. You don't have to use any resources, so you don't need any flips. So basically the only thing you need to use and for it to work and is your mobility and survivability, and that's it. You don't need to use anything else. And on top of that, she has value in itself, not on those effects alone, but she has great stats and she has a meaningful action points, and she actually can generate some resources for you. That's really, really valuable, and especially not in her own activation. So that's like the perfect example for a model with both value, impact, great stats, survivability, and to a lesser extent mobility. She's not that mobile, but she's average, right? So we can safely say that she is a great model. So we need some more examples. So another one is Fiona. That was an example beforehand. Why Fiona? I can probably demonstrate why she was really, really valuable before the errata. So why she was a great model and now she is a pretty average model. And many guys I talk to say that she's maybe even better than before in her own keyword, and I strongly disagree, and that is why. So she had a great package of really good survivability, because she has one of the best combinations of the abilities that make her survivable, right? She's a soulstone user, she has armor, she has hard to kill, and she has an access to the one of the best upgrades in the game, Leadline Code. So, and what made her really good that she had a possibility to use those stats instead of any other model. So she passively boosted your all potentially all of your other models to the same level of survivability. So she shared her inherent qualities for a meager cost of a card, right? And not all, because take the hit. It has some inherent weaknesses, right? So if you have a model to protect, like here, and if you, for example, attack a steward from this direction, right? So if you use a take the hit, you had to place Fiona or any other model in base contact, right? And that's often this is often a good thing, but this is often a bad thing also, because you can lose your presence in the board where she is needed, because she can potentially protect different models, right? And if you place her somewhere here or even here, you can't protect this one. But she had an access to lead line code. She has still this access, but not an ability in itself anymore. And she could just choose to not move in the enemy's activation due to the lead line code. And that was really good. And also the really good thing that if you had chosen that, you could place somewhere here and block the line of sight to the different model. You can do that with a lot of different models with Take the Hit, but Fiona Gage is really good because she has a 40mm base, and she can safely block the line of sight to the 30mm bases. And also, she had and still has pretty nice passive effects. So she has pretty nice grit and the Hero We Deserve ability that provides her with a positive flips, and that makes her survivability and this effect even better. And that's not considering any other good things about the model, like an action point multiplier, like she has I've got your back, and she has this ability, and it is one of the best in the game because she has a show aside on the trigger. And overall, she had a lot going for her, and that brings us to the impact. So impact. You had no option to ignore it, because you either attack Fiona herself, and encounter her survivability skills, or you can try to attack something else, and for a cost of the card, you still deal with those great, one of the best in the games, stats and survivability. And now she can do only a fraction of this, only on her keyword models, and they are not really overall that awesome as Fiona pre-nav, so you don't often consider hiring them for exactly those reasons. And without this package, you actually can ignore Fiona, because she has no impact as Anna. So Anna really breaks down the enemy game with her auras and the presence on the table. And if Fiona Gage accept her own melee range and bring it, that can be used only in her activation, does not have anything else. So that's just an that's an average impact. And you can say that she lost only a wound, and only one ability on her card got changed, but actually that dropped her impact a lot. It is not even comparable to the to the thing in the past. And that's probably why you don't see her at all in my games now, because she has no place even in the Nelly I play often, because I often have something more impactful for the particular game, and she is suited almost to the only role of protecting your keyboard pieces, and that's pretty much not really needed, because you don't really want to clump up with an Ellie screw. And the only impact she often brings is Bring It, and that's Bring It got a lot worse in the gaining ground too, because you need now to be in the enemy's table half almost for every strategy. So let's see some other examples, right? Let's take Hinamatsu, for example. Why is it a good model? Because she has a really nice survivability for the cost. She is very, very mobile, because that's 6 movement range is pretty insane. And most of all, can she be ignored? Well, actually, yeah, but you can safely ignore her, but it requires a lot of things to prepare for, right? Because you need to either neutralize Hinamatsu by some status effects, like, I don't know, slow her, make her stunned, engage her with a 2-inch engagement range, and you need to be always reactive to her. You can't just say I don't really care about it, and I'll do my thing. No, you can't, because she has aggressive stance that's really annoying in some crews. That's 3-inch range from the 40mm base is pretty nice. She has lure. It's not that relevant as in Gaining Grounds 1, but it's still a utility piece. And most of all, why is it so good? Because over the potential 6 or 7, if you consider the bonus action 7, potential 7 attacks in the activation. Well, 7 actions, 6 attacks and 7 aggressive stance. And if you have some other ways to multiply your action points, like fast or a base, it's even better. So for the 9 Soulstone package, it is a really good deal, especially with the crews with the base, fasts, or some other things to consider. And that's pretty much the thing I measure value or greatness of the models. And almost the last thing I wanted to talk about is, and I already did some examples with Fiona Cage about that, is this impact or value of the model, is it self-sufficient? So does it require something else to bring it out? And this is really important thing, because some models can be considered really good in some situations, and in some situations they are practically not really worth it. And maybe not the ideal example of that or is a Scavenger, right? He got considerably buffed. This Irata. Here it is. So what's so great about it? About him? He has tools for the job. So he, for some extent, generates resources, and he is, well, probably he's not the greatest example. I think he's great overall, but let's take it, not the Scavenger. Yes, Scavenger, I don't think it will be the perfect example. I think the Engineer will be a lot better. Here it is, yeah. because yeah, that's a lot better of an example, because he works best with Freikorps constructs. He has a great bonus action, and it is a great resource and action multiplier, because it provides huge benefits of cycling a card and maybe taking an additional focus, or maybe even concealment. And it is a great model in his own keyword, and it is probably not a really good idea to take him anywhere else if you don't take Freikorps constructs, or at least just the constructs. And for that matter, you just better be with a scavenger, because he has no such weaknesses. He is pretty much a generalist, fitting to support anything else without any severe drawbacks, let's say it. So and even I don't know, those are really good. They are almost as good as lawyers in some extents, and a lot better in others. And by the way, lawyers are really comparable to that, because they have a really good action. They have still tools for the job. That's one of the best abilities in the game. So and obey, often suited. And this is pretty much the best measure of a model. So this is taking a bit longer than I wanted. So I hope this will spark at least a discussion, and I think that's probably all for today. Yeah, have a good time. Goodbye.